V'zehu inyan oshu b'tzava shelo, and this is the concept of what does the name Tzvos mean? It means he is a sign in his army. Shaf shamalachim nekraim Elokim, that even though the angels are called Elokim, inan aruch elav yizbarich, they are not comparable to him, may be blessed. Shehin rak bale koach ma shenimshach lahem mimenu yizbarich, that they are only masters of the ability, that's that which is drawn to them from him, may be blessed. V'hu yizbarich ha'eloka, and he may be blessed is the divinity. Hu levadu akadmun chulu, and he alone is the first and the primal. L'chein shapir yesh lomar, therefore it makes sense to say, you can say, well, Damash amar Yisro ki godel havaya mikol ha'elokim, that Yisro says that Hashem is greater than all the Elokim, zeu kishelo matzah behen mamosh. That was when he didn't find anything to them. Av shekaran Elokim al shem hakorach, even though he did call them Elokim because of the ability they have. So he's not calling them Elokim because they have some kind of godliness to them, but only because of the strength that's in them, that's given through the flow of Hashem to them. So meaning to say that we're not going to criticize Yisro for this, that he gave mamash to them. And our Rabbeinu, the Alter Rebbe in Torah Or, the Maamar with the mezuzah on the right side and the Chanukah on the left, in his covenant Taritz Kushyan, he wanted to answer this question, that how could you say that Hashem is greater than all the Elokim? Other than me, there's no Elokim. So how could you say he's greater than the other Elokims? And he gave a different answer there. And the answer he gave is that it says that Hashem is greater and our master than all the Elokim. Perish mikol Elokim kai al kuf kaf tzirufi Elokim. This refers to all the combinations of the letters of the 120 combinations of the name Elokim, the kedusha in holiness. That from that comes the existence and separate entities. Look over there, that it's talking about within godliness itself, that Havaya is greater than the concept of Elokim. That it's not talking about other Elokims, it's within godliness itself, within Kedusha. It's describing the greatness of Shem Havaya over Shem Elokim. That Shem Elokim is Kuf Kaf Tzirufei Elokim, from which comes everything. And Alter Rebbe goes at length over there. Matzasi gamkin b'shalah perush al derech zeh, and I found also in Shalah a similar perush. V'zel Shono, and this is what he says. Reish Parshas Ve'era Daf Shin Ches Suf Amud Beis Ki Perushim Elokim. That what does it mean? The name Elokim Hu Kav Hayosher Al Pi Das V'Din L'Kol Nivra V'Nivra. It's the straightforward line according to the proper judgment to each and every creation, tivo muhuso vinyano akatsuv lo, its nature and its essence and its concept that's set aside for it. That's Shem Elokim. Aval godel havaya mikol Elokim, but Havaya is greater than all the Elokim. Kamosh amar Yisro ki b'shem Havaya, like Yisro said, because with the name Havaya mishane hateva, it changes the nature, mishadid hamarechas, and ruins the order, and destroys the natural order. So Elokim means the natural order and the kav and the das v'din to each creation, but the Shem Havaya is the shadid hamarechas, to destroy that order and to give without that kind of judgment. And so to it's written, Havaya your Elokechem, it's the Elokei of the Elokim. That's the end of the quote from the Shalah. Look what it says there also in the explanation of that Hashem is great. Shu Shem HaEtzem That's the name of the essence. Mikol Elokim, from all the Elokim, Vikol Elokim Acherim, that this includes all the concepts of in Elokim, whether it's Elokim Acherim, V'hamavdil Elokim Kedoshim Chulu, and to separate with holy Elokim, the concept of Elokim and holiness. Arikan Lashono. Look over. That's the end of the quote. Vayin Sham B'Hagan. Look over there in the comment. Hachini Hamedrash Rabba Parshas Vaeschanan Dafresh Tzadikom Hanal. So what about this Medrash Rabba then in Vaeschanan? The Sfira led Yisro Nasan Mamish B'Ovdi Kochavim Umazalos. That its opinion is that Yisro did give some kind of existence to the Ovdi Kochavim Umazalos. B'Omro Ki Godel Havayachulu. That he said that Hashem is greater than the Elokim seemed to give credence to other Elokims. Chas v'shalom. Paligal mehamedrash Rabba b'Koheles. So this Medrash in Vaeschanan is arguing on the Medrash Rabba in Koheles, al pasuk hakol asayaf be'ito that we brought before, that he made everything nice in its time. V'Medrash Rabba b'Rish Pashas Dvarim, and also the Medrash Rabba in the beginning of Dvarim, she'in nosnim dofi b'divrei Yisro, that these two Medrashim do not place the words of Yisro as faulty. And that is because the Medrash Rabba in Koheles explains the statement of Yisro, that this is like David said, that I know Hashem is greater than all the Elokim. That everything he wanted he does. That at first glance this is like Yisro says. That the thing that they had intended to do. Commotion is world Ilsif Gimel Daled, like we explained it previously. That in the Nazid it's from the language of Nazid, that a pot that they cooked, that's where they were cooked in. Commotion is Borli Ilsif Gimel Daled, like was explained before. Hagav V'Gam Yishlomer, we can also say Shbe'emes Legabi Soviv Kol Almi Nemar Me Beladai In Elokim, that in comparison to Soviv Kol Almin, it says, with other than me, there's no Elokim. The Hainu She'in Od Elokim Zelasu Klal, that there is none other than him at all. But since it says, so according to that, there's no Elokim. No, even in holiness, in comparison to Soviv Kol Almin, there's no Elokim other than him. But since it's written that the sun and its shield is the name is Hashem Elokim, al derech magin v'nartik, like the concept of a shield or a sheath, l'shemesh sam oil behem, to the sun he's placed a tent in them. Kiviyachal kel mastater, and he says, so to speak, he's a hidden God. Ad she'asa zeh lu'mazeh, to the point where he made this opposite this. For example, with the two goats on Yom Kippur, he commanded that one of the lotteries will go to Hashem, which it corresponds with the Zer Anpin, and another lottery will go to Azazel, and that seems to imply in the Chumash itself that there's one is going to go to Azazel, that there's some other something that Hashem is sending to. That's the concept of Kel Mastata, that he's hidden and gives, so to speak, a place for the imagined existence of some other thing. So that's the concept of Hashem hiding himself in the shield of the sun. That's the name Elokim upon Shem Havaya. And so therefore it states that even with this concept of Shem, the sun and its shield, Nonetheless, Gadol Havaya Mikol Elokim. Still Hashem is greater than all the Elokim. To the point where everything that he does, he wants to do, he does. Ad Kanaga, that's the end of the Hagah, explaining also this opinion of the Medrash that brings the words of David that aren't criticized. Again, it's all to say that the Elokim is within Kedusha. That we're not talking about something outside, but when we say that Havai is greater than the Elokim, we're saying that it's the Elokim that Hashem hides himself. So it's a little different that here we see an actual, so to speak, place for something else. The Seir La Zazel, or the Hashem hiding himself, that seems to give a place to something else. Nonetheless, we say Havai is greater than that. Midrash Rabba, the Parshas Vaeschanan. And what about the Midrash Rabba in Vaeschanan? The Nasi Dofi Divrei Yisro, that does criticize the words of Yisro. V'cheinu b'mechilto Parshas Yisro. So too in the Mechilto on Yisro. Tzayich loma desfirale. The David HaMelech al Vaeshalom ba'omro ki ani odati kegadol chulu. That when David HaMelech said this, that I know that Hashem is greater than all the Elokim. V'adei kivin k'moshe amar Moshe v'ein od chulu. His intention was not like Yisro said it, but like it's like Moshe said, Havai hu Elokim einod. That Hashem is the Elokim, there's no other. So when David said Hashem is greater than all the Elokim, that's actually what he meant. And the proof for this is at the end of the pasuk where David says everything that Hashem desired he has done in the heavens and the earth. Meaning to say that there's no other. He's the only one who's doing. Hashem is greater than all the Elokim, meaning to say that Hashem and the Elokim are all one, because everything he does in the heavens and the earth, that there's only really one. I guess that's how it's mefarish the words of David in the Medrash Vaeschanan that does criticize Yisro. V'gam omer atzabei hagoyim kesef v'zahav. It also says, it continues and says that the gods of the nations are silver and gold. Hare omer shem lo klum. So it does state clearly there that they don't have anything to them, that they're not, that ein behem mamash. Val Yisro, but in Yisro, she'amar ki gadol chulu, when Yisro said that Hashem is greater than all the Elokim, ki b'davar chulu, because of the thing that they had planned and so forth, was brought upon them, mashma sheyesh lem koach u'memshala, this seems to imply that they do have some kind of power in ruling, alashu gadol yosur chulu, only that he's greater than them. Even though this is not like the that which it says in Gemara Menachos that they called him the God of gods. The Purusha Marsha, that the Marsha explains in that Gemara that what's the intention of that? Shinu mashkiach lamata. That what they say is that he's not watching below. So the Ha'omer ki b'davar she'azadu ukanal. Because it says that which they plotted, that was what they were cooked in. That's what came to them. So that means to say that Hashem is watching over and is seeing what's going on and acting accordingly. So it's not so the Yisro's statement implies that Hashem is watching and is involved. He's just greater than the others, but not that he went up like Elokah Delokaya implied according to the Marshan Menachos. Kanal Bakit to the Sif Beis, like it was brought before. Nonetheless, we can say we can still say that this is like it says in Medrash Rabba Eicha on the verse, my portion Hashem, my soul says, Marshal Melech. This is compared to a king, that he has different types of important ministers. Canal. And if so, Yisro considered that this was like the greatness of a king, an awesome king, in comparison to a small minister. And even though it says that that which they plotted came upon them, that was because of his awesome greatness in comparison to them. And they are like a fly in comparison to a man. So this praise of Yisro, according to the Orach Chaim, does not reach the concept of there's none other than him. But the words of David, according to Medrash Vaeschanan, would be like the words of Moshe, that there's no other than Hashem, Einod Milvado. We could say that it's possible that the words of Yisro, according to Medrash Rabba Vaeschanan, Kinyan Shituf. It's like the concept of Shituf, of that idea where there's, so to speak, a helper to Hashem. That the non-Jews are not commanded on Yichud Havaya like the Jews are in the idea of complete unity. And they're allowed to believe that there's, so to speak, other forces that, so to speak, help Hashem Chaz v'Shalom. Shelefi das harav mush alshich. No, this one is actually Harama, the Mush Israelis. This is the Raman Be'orach Chaim Simin Kuf Nun Vav V'Shem Kama Poskim In Bnei Noach Mesuvim Al Shituf. He says that the sons of Noach are not commanded upon this idea of helpers. Avshem Mesuvim Al Zeh Al Avodah Zarah. Even though they are commanded not to have, God forbid, Avodah Zarah, Tanya Lo Yelachachulu, that they should not have other gods in front of me. It's like, Lomar, we must say the Shituf Eino Al Avodah Zarah. We must say that these helpers are not considered Avodah Zarah. Lomar Shurak Elakad Elakaya Bina Mashkiach Chulu. That is to say that he is a God of gods and doesn't watch. Kim Afal Pishu Mashkiach Lo Him Misaim Lo. So they're not allowed to say that he doesn't watch. But they can say that even though he watches, they help him. So they're not allowed to say that God is, so to speak, removed from his creation. Varamaz Pashas Azinu al Pasuk Ketapuach Ba'atzi Ayor Perish Inyan Ashituf. So the Ramaz Pashas Azinu in Zohar Kadosh on the verse, like an apple in the amongst the orchards of the forest, Perish Inyan Ashituf, he explains this idea of helpers al derech mashikos v'Rambam. So if Perek Beis Mehilchos Avodah Chavim Mazolos, like the Rambam says in the laws of idol worship, Sh'amru b'David b'Dor Enosh, that it says about the generation of Enosh, Roy Lachlok Lahem Kavod, that they said it's fitting to give the stars and so forth honor because Hashem placed them in a high place. That they didn't completely abandon the idea of a higher power. Look what it says about Shema Yisrael in Chinuch. The mitzvah that this mitzvah is that we should not imagine that there is shituf, God forbid, that Hashem has any helpers. So kitzer v'zeu inyan osu b'tzava shelo. This is the concept of that he's a sign amongst his army. Rabbeinu Zal Pirush Ki Godel Havaya Mekuv Kaf Tzirufi Elokim de Kedusha, and the Alter Rebbe explains that this pasuk, Hashem is greater than all the Elokim, refers to the 120 combinations of the name Elokim within holiness itself. V'chein Pirush b'Shalah. So too it explains in the Shalah, Parshas Vaeschanan V'Mechilta Nosnim Dofi B'Divrei Yisro. Now the Medrash Rabba and Vaeschanan and the Mechilta do criticize the words of Yisro, Afal Pishu Amar Ki B'Davar Shazadu, even though it says that which they plotted went against them, meaning to say that he recognizes that Hashem is control over them, because they explain it to say that it's like a king who has ministers under him, and the ministers are, so to speak, helping him. And that's why they criticize Yisro for giving credence to that idea of Shituf.